What's a sign that somebody wasn't raised right? They don't take responsibility for their actions. Or worse, they want you to take responsibility for their actions. This is so annoying, and when you say no, that means you are rude. You really don't care about me, do you? Yes. And then comes some emotional temper tantrum, anger, crying, and there they start gaslighting. I never said that. I think you owe me an apology. Then it's time for a fight about my reaction only. I can't believe you can get off on saying that to me. After everything I've done. How I've suffered for you. Is this some guilt-tripping attempt I'm seeing? Sounds like my dad. Right. Every single comment was like, yuck. Heard that from my parents, whoop, heard that too, and that, dash. How they treat people from whom they have nothing to gain. Retail will tell you about 75% of people exhibit this sign. I worked in retail, it's more like 20% in my experience, but you remember those more on a bad day. I'd say 10% are assholes 247, and 70% are one bad day away from screaming at some random teenager whenever they feel inconvenienced and never feeling guilty about it. My dad is in that 70% for sure. He once yelled at a random guy and told him to tell his wife not to speak to him because she asked him to calm down after yelling at the poor Chinese woman at Panda Express. I will never go into that building with him. Edit. Just remembered another time one of his fast food orders got very slightly messed up, and after getting home and taking everything out, he said I ought to go back and tell them how worthless they are. Pretty cool guy. Me ex once went back into a fast food restaurant and literally threw the food at the staff because they had gotten my order wrong, not even his own food. I was in high school and knew half the staff, and they would usually give me free food. I have never been so mortified. You give them a lift and they leave rubbish in your car. I forgot my candies and trash in a carpool 6 years ago and I still remember it. The driver rushed us out because he made a mistake, to be fair, but my ducking brain won't forget it. The word no just means throw a fit and be as obnoxious as you can be until you get your way. No does not mean that rules or someone's job might be on the line. They're the important one, not anyone else. If they make messes in public areas and just wander off, leaving trash in the theater, not flushing, leaving the cart in a parking space, edit, forgot the theater thing is the norm in Britain. I meant in general, leaving a mess where it's not supposed to be. Disrespecting people for doing their job. Lack of personal accountability. They can never admit wrongdoing on their part. It's always someone else's fault. Not respecting personal boundaries. If you're wondering why someone has these sorts of issues, take a look at their parents. Dear God, I used to be friends with a guy who was like this. I made the mistake of talking him through some difficult things and he took that to mean that I wanted him present 247. He'd see that I was hanging out with somebody else and then text me bugging me to ditch that person and hang with him instead because he was sad and lonely. I understand not wanting to be sad and lonely, but you can't make me ditch all my other friendships to fix that. I had a friend who got creepy clingy like that. It got to the point that he followed my Snap Map location to where I was with some friends, they didn't know each other, and demanding I hang out with him instead. Gross. Why not block your location? I've never understood why that feature exists in the first place. I ended up turning it off after that. I don't get why it's there either. Stalkery shit reasons. I will say it was satisfying to hear of people being caught cheating when the feature first came out. But yet, other than that, no good reason. SnapMap baffles me. An app that has proven excellent for child predation decides it's gonna add a geolocator. Brilliant. We totally weren't paid to add that feature. One rule for me, one rule for you parents that mess up on the discipline accountability stage of parenting produce these people. Rules for thee but not for me. Do as I say, not as I do. Who are the guys who spit out their chewing gum into urinals? I see this all the time at work, and I work in a high-end corporate place. Do they think it dissolves and goes down the pipe? The janitor has to pick that out. I had a guy shit on the floor in the bathroom at my work, then apologized because I was working the shift, not my coworker he hated. People are ducking weird, dude. I worked at a truck stop with 3 bathrooms, a men's, a women's, and a unisex single one in the trucker lounge. The stall in the men's was out of service because people don't understand what a reasonable amount of toilet paper is. Guy comes in, truck bathroom is occupied. Goes to men's, stall out of service. Do you A, wait for the trucker room? B, just go to the women's, which is also just a single room and isn't used much? C, shit in the urinal, then come out and complain that I should lose my job because the stall is out of order? C? It's always C. They always say with multiple choice, when you don't know, pick C. They don't have manners or respect anyone. They never see what they do wrong. The old I only give respect if it's earned, so I'm gonna be rude to the world, and if it's rude back, they are the assholes. Gotta love those talks with people. The old I only give respect if it's earned, so I'm gonna be rude to the world. Those tough guy types who say that kind of line are usually woefully unprepared for the "well, what do you think you have done so far to earn my respect?" question. How they act as a boss when their employee messes up. Yelling and belittling shouldn't be your first option. This was what made me respect the absolute hell out of my manager. I made a mistake on a job a while back, like a big duck up that cost us a large sum of money. I was fully expecting to get chewed out, and if you fuck up again, you're out the door, because that's how previous managers had treated us. It's no wonder we had a horrific management and employee turnover rate for years. But no. He came over to the car I was working on, looked at what happened, figured out how the mistake was made, and we talked about it for a couple minutes. I was pretty upset about it because I'm usually not the type of tech who is negligent and makes mistakes, so when I do, it profoundly bothers me. He saw that. He listened to what I said, and he went through the process of getting replacement parts ordered for what I messed up. The next morning he came to me again and said, I was thinking about you last night after I got home and thinking of what you could do to prevent this mistake from happening again in the future. Gave me a few suggestions for the future, and closed the conversation with a pat on the shoulder and we won't need to have this conversation again, brother. I trust you. It was the most meaningful conversation I have ever had with a manager. I got the sense that he really wants to see his employees succeed and grow. It gave me confidence in a moment in which I had none left. This is how you be a leader, not a boss. A leader lends a helping hand and treats you like an equal. A boss treats you like a replaceable piece of meat. Best boss I ever had, and like a second father to me, gave me the golden rule that I use as a boss now: praise in public, correct, criticize in private. My favorite boss, and current boss because I am lucky to have an amazing one for my first job, did exactly this. When I ducked up, he'd call me to the back and tell me what I did wrong. No correcting in front of my co-workers and customers, but genuine teaching moments. He always made sure that my co-workers knew I was a good worker, and made it known when I was there to watch people's performance. That man was like a father to me as well. When I was in a tough spot, he gave me $60 cash. He bought a worker new shoes because her roommate stole hers. He gave rides if you needed them and ordered food to the store at lunchtime. At breakfast sometimes he'd bring donuts. This is a little above minimum wage, by the way. He didn't have to do this. I think we are definitely easily replaced, as there's a high school down the street and most of the workers are high schoolers, but he still took care of us like we were permanent. I hope I get to have a nice final day. I'm shift lead and didn't get to work for my 1-year mark because of COVID. I really want to go back this summer just to say goodbye. This is probably the best environment I've been in ever. They always portray themselves as a victim. Nothing is ever their fault and somebody is always out to get them.